Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to do a section model. Okay, and what I'm going to do essentially is I am going to copy everything, right click it, and group it. Oh, you know what? So what I have to do is I have to only select geometry. So there goes that thing again. So I'm going to click here, group it. Oh man, why is it not letting me do it? I'm wondering. I'm a little suspect that it's not going to let me group it because I am. It's linked in. It's weird. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to. Let's see. What should I do? Should I? Typically I go like that and I right click and I. Why is it not letting me group it? Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, go to my selection tool, go to only geometry, click everything, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to M, and I'm going to create a material here. Okay, and I'm going to go to here, and then it's called double-sided. Let me go here. First, hold on. I was going to use an unused bubble. Go to double-sided. And then I'm going to go here for the facing object. I am going to just make it white. And then for the other object, let's see, hold on one sec. So what I'm doing is I'm making these two here. Okay, material. Okay, there we go. Okay, so number 31, I'm going to make that white. And then go to the default. I'm going to name it actually. So section. Actually, should be backwards. Okay. So I'm going to make this here my plane, and then my back material, I'm going to make it red. You can make it whatever you want, but I typically like to use red. I make it a double-faced material on both. Is it supposed to be double-faced? and then I'm going to assign it to everything. Okay, and then I am going to click here, go to slice, and then I'm going to go here to plane. Now what I'm doing is I'm cutting this plane, right? And what I could do is I could show you, I want to remove the top, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my cameras by pressing Shift C and turn off my lights by pressing Shift L. See that? To clean up the scene a little bit. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rotate my plane. You can do it this way. You could right click this here. I think the plane will be here. So we got that there. Zoom in. And then what I would do is I would render it out. Or you know what? I should put, hold on 1 second. All my Omni lights are like pink or something. Oh, shucks, I can't touch them right now. So you can go to Light Lister. I'm going to change this to white. So I didn't have to, because I have my slice plane selected right now. And so I went to Light Lister here, Tools, Light Lister, so I can mess with my lights. And then I'm also going to go to Tools, Light Lister. I'm going to go to my sun. I want to mess with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unselect that real fast. And I'm going to zoom out, click here. And you want your sun to be in a good position. Okay. Essentially what should go down. So see how like the windows, I forget that you're not supposed to do the windows because they're two-sided. But see how like it has this outline out here of where it cut the building. Let me make it a better example here. How can I make it a better example? Take off the two-sided. Go back to default. To two-sided. So essentially what I would do is like this kind of practice, what I would do is I would get this, I'd render it out nice, and then I would Photoshop it to clean up the little errors. Okay? This is a good way to get a nice rendering of an interior shot without have to actually like slicing your plane, because if I click this object here, slice plane. It's actually really not like slicing your material. It's just visually doing it. Okay? So typically what I do is I get all of the materials and then I group them together and then I apply that material and then I'll Photoshop it afterwards. So that's that is one exercise. Number two, I want to show you guys another cool thing that you could do. So I'm going to turn this off. So what I would do is I would grab everything, right? And I would get a material, and I would see. You can do two things. You can go to ink and paint, and then you can go here to the white piece of it, and then here is the ink piece of it, and then you could select all. Render it out. Yes. You got to be on your default. That one's gonna be too I guess I can show you guys. You actually have to delete your sun to get this one done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my F10, go to my rendering machine, common, I believe it's right here, default line scanner. Okay. So what you could do with that, what I would recommend is for stuff like that, I would get this, scan it, give it to and then you would print it out on a Xerox machine, and then you would use watercolors and you would delineate it, because if you print it from a Xerox machine, the ink won't run, and you could watercolor it. So you could do three things. You could get a professional rendering, you can get a line rendering that you can give to the project architect so you can sketch over it. So you don't have to give them like a super fast rendering really, really fast. Okay? So it's on the video how I did it. What I had to do is I just went to the material, clicked it here, double clicked it, went here, went to ink and paint, clicked it, and then I had to also go to F10, and I had to reassign my my renderer here to default line renderer. I'm going to actually put it back on Mental Ray. Renderer. And there's one other thing I wanted to show you guys before we take off. Let's see. Okay. So we have this material here, right? And say, for instance, you have like, I don't know, say for instance you have like a painting, right? I'm just going to make it over exaggerated here. Right? That's your painting, right? And you have, you want to put a drawing on there, like a painting on it, right? So what you do is you go to your material editor, you click a blank material, you go here to standard, right? And then once your standard's on there, you go to standard, and then you go to, where is it at here? Oh, sorry. On your standard, so you have your standard material on here, right? So that's here, whatever. You go to your diffused, you go to bitmap, So what I'll do is I will gladly give you guys an example here. Spell it for me. Yeah, no, I said spell it, but it's alright. It's all good. So, you know, whatever, something cool, right? Jerks. I was gonna. We can do something weird. Which one you guys want? Come on, quick shot. Bam. Little doggy, or well, I think it's a dog. I don't know. Anyway, name it whatever. It doesn't really matter. Okay. So now I have it located somewhere, right? So I'm gonna go to my bitmap. It's gonna ask me, hey, where is this located? Your image. So essentially, a bitmap is put an image instead of this material, right? So this is where you start getting complicated with. You can assign an AVI to a material using a bitmap, so you can have if you did an animation, you can have a TV going in real time on your animation. But that's complicated. I'm just going to get you this example. Um, so I thought I saved it to my desktop. Oh, I'm not on my desktop. Am I on my desktop? I thought I just did that. Stupid. Crazy. Picasso just got axed. Oh, is that where I thought I put it here? Could have swore. Oh, well, anyway, so we got our picture there, right? Boom, and then we're gonna show it, and then we're going to put a UVW map on it. Is that coming up right? So what it's doing is trying to tile it as best as it could, right? Right? Get it? So if you have like a cool material that you want to use, that you want to put on this image, you could do that. Um, and you know, so that's it for the materials and kind of just different exercises and stuff. Also, what you could do is, say for instance, you have this material here, and you assign it to a standard material, and you make this material here. I'm going to delete this. So I'm going to go to its maps. So I'm going to go here to, where is it? Not displacement. If you want to make something really, really reflective, you can click here to reflection, go here, and then put a ray trace on it. You can click here and you can see how reflective that is, right? If you want to go back to the default material, you can make your own materials also. Your opacity is very important also. So say for instance, you have an opacity map, right? And what you need to do is, say for instance, and I got to show you this in theory because it's already 8:12. Or should you guys want me to do it? It's an opacity map, so you can make a material that's see-through. Yes. You have shadows. Okay, so Okay, so essentially what I would do is if I had a material, I would put one do it 12, 5 by 12. Essentially, that's standard, but it's not like you have to do it that way, like to use it as a map, you know. So all I'm really gonna do is I'm really just gonna like make something super simple. Um, so you guys should know Photoshop um, shortcuts. So um, what I'm doing essentially is I'm just pressing M for Mesquite, so that's the selection tool, and I'm gonna press G for paint bucket, and then if I press Shift G, it goes back and forth to from gradient, right, to paint bucket. So bam, right, and I put that on a different layer, so I'm actually gonna do that like that. And then I'm just going to deselect that by pressing Control D. I'm going to press V for select. I'm going to press Alt to copy this, right? All the programs have different things to do, different commands to do the same thing. Okay, so that's my bitmap, right? I'm going to Control Shift save, save on desktop, test, save it as a JPEG, boom, right? Um, and then I am going to flatten the image. I'm going to invert it, right? Because the whatever's like black, you can see through it. Something like that. Sorry, I don't have the science behind it. Um, you know, the O map, opacity map. Um, I might mess this up the first time. All I'll have to do is undo the invert, but I think I got it. Okay, so I got those two, right, as a simple example. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a simple piece of geometry using my create box, bam, pet out, and then I'm going to go like this, press shift. I'm going to keep it as a copy, not as an instance. I'm going to use a blank standard um, material, and then I am going to assign a bitmap to it. Okay, so that's step one. You need to get the front part of it, the face of it. So this is it, test, right? And then I am going to also, hold on one second. You should be able to see that material in that editor. Oh, that's not it. Huh? No, no. I should be able to see it here, but it's all right for now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. So when I click this, it's like backspace. Okay. And then all my defused, there's maps right here. And I'm going to go here to opacity. I go to none here. And then I look for my bitmap. And then I go to my OMAP. Bam. There it is there. And then I am going to here, there. might need to be on a like a thinner material. There you go, voila. So the reason why this is black on here is because the side's black, because it's a how can I explain this? Okay, so you have your basic material, and then you have your opacity map, and your opacity map is telling the computer on these spaces make it see-through, so you could see it. Okay, so I can go like this. And I like creating like screens or like unique shading devices with this thing. So you can now you can kind of start to see through it. See that? So that's how you create it. So what I did in Photoshop, right, is this is my map. This is my my face, right? This is the picture. And then where the white space is, you have to invert it to black. Okay? So essentially, where black and white meet is where it's going to be clear. Does that make sense? So just think about that. Black and white cancel each other out. That sounds logical. And then you'll be able to have that opacity map there. And it's recorded in your video. So let me make sure that I save this one here.